Good morning, Internet. My name is MilkDucks, and this is Quack Attack number 1, where we learn to be better players. I'm getting this up a little late. I wanted to post it yesterday, but I was way, way too tired to do a commentary. I had to go to sleep. I felt like I was going to pass out, to be honest. I mean, the only thing keeping me awake was caffeine, and, but better late than never, right? So, what we're going to be looking at today is a game of Domination on Village. I'm using a suppressed CM901 assault rifle with Scavenger Pro, Hardline Pro, and Stalker Pro, which I feel like is a pretty good setup for this map. A lot of the engagements are in that nice middle range zone where assault rifles feel pretty comfortable. This is one of the few maps in Modern Warfare 3 that I feel like right now I really understand. It's laid out in a very standard Call of Duty style, and most of the other maps aren't like that. And I'm just going to be honest with you guys, I don't particularly like the maps in Modern Warfare 3. I'm just going to lay that out on the table and we'll come back to it later. Because this is not a review. I am not a reviewer, I'm a gamer. And even though my gut tells me, these maps suck, I'm not going to jump to any conclusions. Because the game's only been out for 48 hours, and it's otherwise fantastic. And I know that after we've got some time invested, we're going to start feeling a lot more comfortable. But again, that's not really the subject of this commentary. I mean, we'll have plenty of time to talk about that stuff later on down the road. Right now, I think that we need to be focusing as a community on how best to adapt to this new environment, because it is a new environment. It's easy to come out with this knee-jerk negativity, but I don't think that that kind of a reaction is doing yourself or the community any favors. My responsibility as a commentator is to help players. That's why I got into commentary in the first place. It isn't about trying to make myself look cool to people on the internet, because I don't care about that. You're never going to see me in my videos doing, Tony Hawk 360s off of buildings with a sniper rifle. There are plenty of other channels you can visit for that. For me, I guess it's about two things. First, I like seeing good players, and good teams especially, compete. It's great. I love to see what good communication, coordination, and technical skill looks like in action. And number two, I like seeing players get better. All players. There's always room to grow. Even your professional players out there are always looking for ways to be better. And I love seeing people not only recognize that, but then taking it and developing and growing into something even better than they were before. And if I can help that process along in any way, then that's what I want to do. And that's the purpose of my commentary. That's what my work is going to focus on. And right now, I think the best way to do that is to talk about two concepts that I think are very important. One is consistency, and the other is comfort. And they're both what I like to consider to be foundational concepts. And what I mean by that is, if you imagine that every aspect of your gameplay and all of your goals are parts of a pyramid, these concepts, consistency and comfort, would be very near the bottom. And you can't get higher up this pyramid until you've laid your foundation. You certainly can't reach the peak, which for a lot of people is probably a high kill to death or win-loss ratio, until you've built your way up. So this is a good place for us to start. In this game, I'm satisfying the need for consistency by running relatively low assault point streaks with Hardline Pro. 4 kills for my Predator missile is not a lot, especially when capturing an objective counts as 1, using my Stinger to knock down a UAV counts as 1, even every 2 assists counts as 1. And if the Predator doesn't outright gain you the attack helicopter with a multi-kill, it's relatively easy to get the next up on your own. Once the Cobra's up, you're pretty much guaranteed to get the Reaper. And speaking of the Reaper, I think this is one of the first games that I used it. I was running Predator, Airstrike, Attack Helicopter for a while, but I reached a point where I felt comfortable enough with my gameplay that I could consistently reach a little higher. But I do think that my inexperience with the Reaper kind of shows in this clip. I don't get many kills with it, and that's fine. Every time I get it, I get a little bit more patient, and I get a little bit more effective. And that's all you can really ask for. Getting back on the subject of consistency, though, I think the first aspect of Modern Warfare 3 that jumps to most people's minds when I say the word consistency is probably support. And for good reason. I mean, obviously the primary selling point for support is that you can die and still get your streaks out. I ran a lot of support initially because consistency was an important factor to me. I knew that I'd be struggling early on because you always struggle early on, and I wanted to make sure that I could get my streaks out. What I discovered was that because it didn't matter if I died, I was playing really sloppily. I was making obvious mistakes, and I was doing poorly because there was no consequence for dying. So I switched back to Assault on most of my classes, not because I don't think that support is effective. It is. But because Assault's going to help me adapt better to Modern Warfare 3, I think, in the long run. So the second concept I wanted to talk about is comfort. And this is an easy concept to understand. Basically, if a weapon or a streak or a perk feels weird to you, then maybe now is not the right time to use it. Like I said before, the game's only been out for 48 hours. We've got a whole year ahead of us, which is plenty of time to ease ourselves into these new mechanics. Right now, though, when we're all just a little bit unsure of where we need to even be on a map, where we're asking questions like, where are the high traffic areas? How many ways can I get flanked from this position? I mean, these are fundamental questions. While we're still trying to answer this stuff, it's probably best to stick to what you're good at, rather than to kind of overreach with something that you're trying to learn. So use weapons that you're comfortable with, and in terms of proficiencies, I'd strongly consider kick, or maybe focus, especially starting off. They both help you stay on target. Kick reduces recoil, focus reduces flinch. They both make the weapon feel more comfortable in ways that multiple attachments or impact really don't. They're both going to help you stay consistent, which again is a key concept that you really have to master before you can crawl up the pyramid. So now that we've talked about those concepts, I think we can probably spend the rest of the time we've got talking about the map. Like I said before, Village is nice. Village is very nice. It feels familiar. Every time I play it, I think, this is a map that could probably have been in Black Ops. And not just because it takes place in a kind of jungle-y, Vietnamish, yeah, those are words, atmosphere, but because it's designed in a way that makes a lot of sense. It's kind of like Overgrown from Call of Duty 4, if you remember that, in that the map is set up in 3 distinct sections, and the objectives are laid out accordingly. There are a network of caverns on one side of the map, and that's where Alpha is located. There's a ravine that runs through the center, and that's where Bravo is on a bridge, again, similar to Overgrown. And there's a village on the other side where Charlie is. We're pretty big fans of taking A and B. Alpha's got a nice kind of Pride Rocky area that overlooks one of the exits from the village. And if you play centrally, which is kind of what I'm doing in this clip, you can pretty easily respond and cover Bravo while you're watching that exit. So you can kind of do 2 things at once. And if the enemy gets a lot of air support, and I'm inclined just to knock it down because I always carry a stinger, but if the enemy gets a lot of air support up, you can always back up into the caves and take shelter. Probably not the best move in Domination, since they're just going to push up and take your positions if you hide in the caves from an AC-130, but it's something to consider in Deathmatch and Team Defender, for sure. And speaking of Team Defender, I hope I can get some good games recorded for you guys soon. I really do, because I really, really like that game type. I talked a little bit before about the maps in Modern Warfare 3 and how I think they're set up in ways that don't make a lot of sense from an objective standpoint. But in Team Defender, you really don't have that problem, because the guy who carries the flag is essentially the objective, and we get to choose where that guy goes. So we really don't have to deal with the wonky level design in Team Defender, which is why we've been enjoying it a lot more than Domination, in fact. But hopefully we can talk about that a little bit more in the next commentary, because this one is about to wrap up. And as always, I'd just like to say thank you to all the folks that stop by and watch my clips. Especially the guys that subscribe, rate, comment, favorite. I mean, it helps me tremendously. And I love fielding questions, so don't be shy. Feel free to send me a message if you think I can help you understand something. I'd be more than willing to try. And if you think that there are ways that I can improve, as a commentator or even as a gamer, please let me know. And let me know what you'd like to see. Modern Warfare 3 is a brand new game with a lot of brand new mechanics, and if I can highlight some of those to help you understand it, yeah, then again, I'd be more than willing to help. So again, thank you very much. My name is Milk Ducks, and until episode number 2, quack quack.